Let's go for Jesus Christ. Round 2. Here we go. Perfect timing with the music. Okay, welcome to the Conquer Food Show. I'm really excited about this episode that we're doing today. We've got Natalie and Leigh-Anne, who are going to talk a little bit about their journey together, which is really, really inspirational. And it's when these guys come to camp, I kind of look in awe because it really is inspirational. So let me give you a bit of a rundown about who you guys are, and then perhaps you can talk a little bit more about it. So we've got Natalie Davidson, who is, am I right in thinking that you're the only teacher in the UK with Tourette's?
UK, the charity are pretty sure it's the world with coprolalia Tourette's, which is swearing Tourette's. So,
right.
Yeah.
So you're from Droitwich, and 3 years after qualifying as a teacher, you was diagnosed with Tourette syndrome. Yeah. You're at Bootcamp right now with your lovely wife Leigh-Anne, and you got married recently. Yeah. Some of them pictures, by the way, were incredible, weren't they?
Yeah.
And as well as teaching, you've also scorched just short of 8 stone as we record this in weight, which is incredible. So there's a couple of things that I really want to get across in this episode. Is one, that I'm not even on the camera. That's not a bad thing. But first and foremost, the bravery and the dedication it must take to become a teacher with Tourette's, or to function as a teacher with Tourette's. I know you was a teacher before you was kind of diagnosed, but we'll talk about that in a bit. But also the weight loss. 8 stone. It's a lot of weight. A lot of weight. So do you want to do one of them funky things where you introduce Leigh-Anne and Leigh-Anne introduces Natalie, or what do you want to do?
Yeah, I'll happily introduce her.
I mean, she's really good at this sort of stuff, yeah.
Right,
so, Leigh-Anne is my wife. She's 4 years younger than me. And we met at a festival, but I was too scared to kind of approach the whole Tourette things, mate. It's a bit daunting because you're going to shout out everything you think about her, aren't you? Right to her face, which isn't a great introduction. So I stalked her online and met her. Told her that I'd got Tourette's, and she was like, yeah, okay. Carried on the conversation, so I told her again.
Oh, and she just didn't react to it?
Didn't react, which I wasn't used to.
Yeah, you to be honest, I mean, we were talking along and whatnot, and yeah, you just kept repeating. I was like, why? Why do you keep repeating stuff? I already heard you. Well, I saw, from writing.
It was that instant acceptance from her that it wasn't a big deal, and it wasn't about the Tourette's, it was about me, and we kind of just clicked straight away.
Yeah.
And met up, and from there it just
blossomed.
Just blossomed.
Yeah.
And Leigh-Anne, what about you? What was your first moments, or
wow,
how would you introduce?
She's
Natalie?
a stalker for one.
It's not looking good, is it?
It was only by chance. I mean, I did see her at the festival that we met at, but only briefly, and because she didn't say anything, and I thought, oh well, she's taken. I'm not gonna, continue this, or I didn't, dig deeper until she messaged me, and the content of the message, I was like, I'm choosing to ignore. That's not you. I got what was it? What was it?
I think I just said something like, you're well fit.
So I was like, I'll take the compliment.
You're like, grow up.
But I was like, do you know what? There's more to her than that meets the eye. And it was just an inkling, a feeling. Yeah. And that's just how we started blossoming in our relationship.
Yeah.
Amazing. And then, so let's dig into the deep of it. What? Can't even talk. So your teacher, I mean, tell me, what age group do you teach to? What's kind of the setting?
So a secondary school teacher. I qualified as a PE teacher and did that for many years. And after a really bad injury, my right calf's not attached, it snapped. So I retrained as a physics specialism.
I saw that. I don't know why. And I was thinking teaching, you know what I mean? You're going to be doing a little bit of writing on the board and all that. And then I watched a little video, which I'll put a link below this video. I don't know why, because you can't even see me, but I'll put a little link below. And it was like, okay, talk to me about an atom. And I was like, fucking, this is like serious. It's like serious learn,
GCSE science.
Yeah.
So all 3 sciences with the specialism of physics, but it's intense.
Yeah.
And retraining was intense, but you know, I love teaching and I love being around the kids. And if that was my route into staying into teaching, then it was worth like focusing on that and getting that qualification and pushing forward.
Yeah. And you, LeAnne, what do you do? I don't really know what.
I mean, to try and explain what I do, I basically do cybersecurity, information security, data protection and all that.
Oh, yeah, cool.
I like to be the fly on the wall rather in front, you know. Background.
Ooh.
So, and I mean, I've done a bit of like data pen stuff and TCSM, you know, the old anti-surveillance countermeasures and all that.
Okay.
Nothing too technical. Basically, bug sweeping.
Nice.
Yeah.
Not the technical stuff you do. But right, okay. So let's get into it. Talk to me about like when you first, was the symptoms.
What, growing up?
Yeah, I mean, you know, when did you start to realise actually, you know, I need to get tested or something's not?
Well, we look back, like I've looked back at my childhood with my mum, and there was like little signs of like Asperger's, OCD, anxiety, and those sorts of things, which are all comorbids of Tourette syndrome. But it's genetic and it can be passed down. No one in my family had Tourette's. Looking back, my mum's got a tic, so like she throat clears a lot. So there's signs of that sort of being in the family. And then while I was at university, it was about 10 days before my 21st birthday, I was attacked and raped. And I was in a safe house straight after that, and I was being interviewed, and I remember having to stop the interviews because I kept making these noises, which I hadn't made before and I couldn't control. And they kind of continued and grew for 3 years and changed into words like shabba and yabba were like my first Tourette's words.
Yeah, you're proud of that?
Yeah. My first spoken Tourette's words. And back then I'd never heard of Tourette syndrome. It wasn't as, I still don't think it's well known really, but it wasn't known.
Yeah.
And a TV program had come on after about 3 years and someone had Tourette syndrome. And I watched it, my mum watched it, and I was like, that is what I've been going through for 3 years. That's what I've been dealing with. I lost a job at a pub for shouting at customers, and I just thought, because of what had happened, that I just couldn't control my emotions, and I'd kind of lost the plot a little bit. I hadn't realised it was deeper set than that. Yeah. So I went to see some specialists who told me it was late onset Tourette syndrome. That was 3 years after, so I dealt with kind of not really understanding who I was, with also dealing with what the hell had happened to my world. And I don't think I fully accepted my Tourette's really and lived with it properly until I met LeAnne. And she kind of taught me that acceptance because she accepted it.
With ease,
it was time like for me to kind of accept it and to push forward in helping others that are in my position and maybe further back in their journey than what I am, and to kind of share that, and not just people with Tourette's, but you know, autistic, dyspraxia, dyslexic, the things that labels get put on, and dealing with that. So yeah, it was it's been a long journey, and I still learn stuff about myself now, and pushing myself to do things like coming to Bootcamp. I try and do something that pushes me in a different way all the time, so I don't get set in my ways. Yeah, it's with your anxiety and your panic attacks that you get. It's very easy to stay at home in your comfort zone and to get used to that, and that's what I like doing. That's what I like being. But that's not going to help me grow as a person.
So you like being at home.
Yeah.
You like being in your comfort zone, which I think we all kind of do.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
So, LeAnne, if I asked you, I mean, from an outsider's point of view, what do you think it is that drives Natalie out of that comfort zone? Or is it you sometimes that kick up the backside?
Well, I mean, you do yourself go into these mentalities of, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. And it always seems to be the last minute towards leaving the door, that she kind of the anxiety kicks in all of a sudden, and I look at it and I see her winding up. You can see it in her body and her mannerisms, and you can just read it. And I feel it actually sometimes when your anxiety is so bad that I just try my best to calm you down in the best possible way that I can think of. Try and distract you.
You know when to be stern with it, but you know when to be like nice, if that's the right word. But
it definitely sounds like you're a partnership. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not, you know.
She reads me just as much as I read her, I think. You calm me down. I mean, most people don't realise, actually,
Billy Ballbags.
she calms me down most of the time.
Yeah.
So it goes both ways.
Yeah. No, it's incredible. So what did it, when you started going through the process of being tested and all that kind of stuff, I mean, how did it feel when you was kind of said, right, okay, this is it. We know what this is. How did you feel then?
I think there was a sense of fear and a sense of release. Yeah. Relief at the same time. You
kind of knew what it was.
Yeah, I'd been given this diagnosis and this label, but what did that mean for me? What did that mean for my future? And, you know, that fear that I've got this Tourette's label is still over me in looking towards my future, employment and jobs. And people see a label before they see the person. And what I'm trying to do, and I go out around the country and I do talks to parents and teachers, and I try and deliver that message that seeing past the label, and actually what that label might hold is actually some special skills that someone else, you know, might not have tapped into. And, you know, the way that I can see things instantly, and see a problem and data and just analyse stuff without even realising that I'm doing it, and the speed that I do it is a skill that I've got that someone would never know by looking at a piece of paper and seeing Natalie Davidson, Tourette syndrome, teacher. And it's about...
just write it off and go,
that's it.
Well, they just see it as swearing. They actually just define it as, that's swearing. Oh, we don't really want somebody... We can't have that in school, you know, with kids. And it's completely the opposite, actually, because once she starts teaching and her concentration is in the subject, her tics go away. People don't realise this. It's only when I would say your ADHD, you know, kicks in, you're bored. So that's when the tics start.
But I feel that helps me in my job, because kids get bored of doing something so fast, but I get bored of doing something so fast. So my lessons are like, boom, 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 like, right, we're going to try it this way, when we're going to do it this way. And it keeps them on their toes as well. Instead of, you know, setting a task and everyone just slugging it out, doing it.
Yeah, because I think Microsoft did a study, didn't they, where kids' attention span is like less than a goldfish now. Yeah. You know, because it can be
that's about right.
I think it is. It's like 7 seconds or something. Yeah. You know, and I suppose what you've been given is like an insight into the fact that we can't just chalk and talk for hours and hours anymore. You know, it didn't really work back in the Victorian times, you know, but we still try. So yeah, that's good.
I think being stood at the front of so many kids every day, and over the last like 15 years that I've done it, I've taught them more than a curriculum will ever teach. And I've taught them that, you know, despite being told that you can't do that, you know, no one's done that before, it's not possible for you to do this, oh, you've got this label, this is wrong with you, you know, think of another option. They're seeing diversity in a successful role, and seeing that and experiencing that is more than, you know, a straightforward teacher just standing in front of them and being the same person every single lesson that they see. And hopefully that inspires them to push forward against people that tell them they can't do something.
Yeah, but what I'm getting is like, everything is about reaction. You know, and I think, you know, we quite often talk about people, you know, saying that you can't always control the events in your life, but you can always control your reaction. And people go, no, not when this happens and this happens and this happens. But what I get from you two is like, from the minute you met, there was this conscious awareness to control reaction.
Yeah.
You know? And that is just a thread throughout your whole life by the sound of it. What has been some of like the negative reactions that you've had? Have you had parents sort of flare up? And
wow.
Here we go.
We'll be here all day, I think.
I'll change the battery.
That's where I have to control LeAnne, because I think one of the hardest things for LeAnne to deal with with my Tourette's. It hasn't been my Tourette's, it's been people's reactions to my Tourette's and being out. And you're quite explosive character that the protection comes in and you want to protect. And there's been occasions where people's reactions can be very negative. And I've dealt with a lot with reactions, people's opinions, and I've been arrested.
Yeah, I saw that in the video.
Being beat up, being chased, being sacked. I've faced a lot of discrimination. And people's general reactions is enough to stop you wanting to go out, like shopping or a train journey. Forgive one that's recent, a recent train journey. I try and like compare it to other disabilities. And I was on a packed train. And, I was ticking because firstly, I don't like being so enclosed and it was a rush hour train journey. I did ask everyone on the train to get naked and dance with me. And no one actually obliged.
Rude.
I did ask several times, amongst other shouts. And I understand it's funny, that's fine. But I also was having other tics, which you could tell were quite painful and like continuous. I couldn't stop them.
Yeah.
And I was aware of someone lifting up the phone and filming me. And I could see the reflection of the filming in the glasses. And I thought, I was having what is called like a tic attack where it's constant and it's quite painful to go through. If someone was having an epileptic fit and someone got a film, there were so many people around that person. One person would have said, "What are you doing? Like, put the camera away." But not one person spoke for me. I couldn't speak because I was ticking. And everyone just stood around and people filming and people laughing or people just turning their back on it. And, that's kind of an explanation into how people's reactions are. It's not seen in the same set because it's so funny at times and because it's not seen as a disability in the same sense that someone having a fit or someone passing out would be looked at.
And what is there a conscious battle going on inside you then? Are you fighting these tics?
Yeah.
I
can hold them in at times for little bits, but kind of, if I explain like a bubble in my chest that pushes up and out, and when that bubble forms, I don't know what's inside it, words, noises, movements, and I lose control of my neck muscles and my shoulders, and it kind of pushes out. And sometimes I can hold that, but...
So you're getting physical symptoms as well?
Everything, all your muscles tense. Like the pain you get in your muscles is like working out.
Like
if you worked out.
Yeah.
If you have a really bad day, it's like you've done loads of weights on a certain area that's maybe like continuously contracts your muscles.
I can tell when you've had a hard day because, I can't be there 24 hours for Nat, because normally in the train situation when she told me about it, normally I would have been the one to go, right, not being funny, but this is not, right to be filming. And I've always been conscious about that and other people's reactions. And I try and use it as an education piece for people saying, do you understand? She's got Tourette's. So do you understand what Tourette's is? And then if they don't, some people are willing to listen. Some people don't. But I can see when you've had a bad day because you are just so exhausted.
Yeah, physically and emotionally, it does. And, if you're doing a normal day on top of your tics, I get people to do like little exercises where they try and write a sentence, and the sentence that we do at one of these like teacher parent conferences that I go to, they write down their journey to the conference for that day, and during that we get them to either stand up at certain times or clap or just turn their heads one way, and then they see how much of the work they've actually got done whilst ticking, and they get an experience of what you might experience for 24 hours.
It's good. Yeah, I've done a lot of reading on like focus and productivity and all that kind of stuff, and I know that on average it can take 11 minutes for you to regain your focus once you've been thinking. So, and I suppose every it can be every second, every couple of seconds or whatever, you're breaking focus.
Yeah.
And having to concentrate on so many other things that's going on. Yeah, it's a lot kind of going on. Must burn a lot of extra calories.
Yeah, I think so, wouldn't you?
Well, it does. I mean, the brain is a massive calorie consumer.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely making the brain work. Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, before this podcast, I'll be completely honest with you. I think for me, I was like, fucking hell, what's she going to say to me?
Ooh.
You know what I mean? And I think everybody has got to worry about that
Yeah.
And then when I watched the video from the one show, I was like, you selfish fucker, because you've got to deal with this every minute of every day, and so have you, as a partnership. You two are a partnership, and it really sort of made me think about that, the what you're actually
I
dealing
do.
with.
I have a massive level of understanding, and I try to with whoever I teach or come across, that there's going to be a sense of, I don't know what the right word is, but an uncertainty from who I'm meeting as well as what I would experience, because that person's got this fear that I might shout something at them, and that is a fear, like what you're going to say about them, the way they look, what they're doing, do they smell, and your Tourette's is the worst honest person at times, that it will tell you everything that you worry about yourself. I'll tell you about it, and that's hard, and that's something that at Bootcamp the trainers deal with so well. I've met so many people that don't know how to deal with it, and being on the other side of being in the class, I'm normally the one at the front and I'm in charge of those kids and their reactions and dealing with it. But to have someone in your class who's the one shouting and can shout quite personal things at the trainers and tell them about themselves, but yet for them still to keep that authority and respect from everyone, and from me, the way that they deal with it. I think I've seen 6 different trainers at Bootcamp, and every single one of them has dealt with it in a totally different way, but in an amazing way. And it's something that I do not worry about coming to Bootcamp, is how they're going to treat me or react to my Tourette's. I don't worry about that at all now, because they're, honestly, the way that they deal with it is...
And they lead by example, because, then everyone else in the group find relaxes all of a sudden.
Yeah.
So I think once the initial phase of them understanding, they just go, oh,
yeah, because if you're in a group and someone's got Tourette's and you've not met that, your instant reaction is to look at the person that's in charge of that group and their reaction. So the trainer's reactions to my Tourette's could actually, be a knock-on effect to how the rest of the group see you and know how to behave and react around you. So, that always creates such a positive atmosphere, environment, doesn't it?
Definitely.
So if you could advise people on how they should react, what but probably, I don't know if anyone's asked that before, like, what do I do? You know what I mean?
Laugh when it's funny, and in context, because a lot of the time it can be in context.
I love that.
Laugh with, don't laugh at if something's obviously lost control in the tics, or if you could see it's painful. Don't ignore it if it's in context. If you want to laugh, don't ignore it and hold it in, because that, for me, I mean, it's personal, but that for me raises my levels of paranoia, and then I get all anxious about it and I get carried up and my tics get worse, because I'm like, I know that was in context and it was funny. But everyone's just totally ignored it, which means everyone hates me. They all want me to leave, and it gets carried away like that. So if it's funny and it's in context, don't be afraid to laugh.
Yeah.
If it's painful and I'm, struggling, just ignore it. Maybe if I need help, I have a calm space I can go to and that sort of thing. But
in public, places, if I'm not there, personally, I would rather people just sort of read. It's not, your average Joe travelling or whatnot. It's quite clear that it's something.
Microphone.
And just empathise with the person, how difficult it is for them. And just be more understanding and be open. If she wants to explain what is, what it is, why she keeps ticking, be open to that. Don't shut it down going, well, you can control it. No, that's why you're not understanding, That's for me what I would give.
That's a big thing, people's misunderstanding that you've got a form of control. Because then you can hold it in.
The initial reaction is, want to just stop saying it. It's like, well,
it's not
okay,
easy,
the
though.
fact that you're just saying that in front of everybody is actually heightening her anxiety, and now she's going to keep ticking.
Yeah, the amount of times I've told
realise.
people, it's like they've come over to me and said, "Oh, can you not shout and swear?" And I'm like, "I've got Tourette's." And at that point, you expect that to be the end of it, and they're like, "Oh, okay, not a problem. But if you can just try not to swear or shout, that would be great." Did you actually listen to what I said? Okay, thank you for your what? If only someone had told me that. I knew it. Just had to try.
Well, listen, we're gonna have a little break now, and then when we sort of come back on, if can we talk about the weight loss and your fitness goals at the minute?
Yeah,
I think people will take a lot from that. So, we'll have a little break. Now, this podcast would not be made possible without the help of TEAM Bootcamp, an incredible place where people travel from all over the world to learn how to think, eat and move better in pursuit of a greater image, but also to finally get a grip of food. If you're interested in TEAM Bootcamp or anything that we do, visit team-bootcamp.com. Right, we're back with that tick.
Reggie, big
perfectly
balls.
timed. Okay, so we're here with Natalie and LeAnne, and we've been talking about your Tourette's and your teaching. Incredible story and a real everything is just a big metaphor for. You think you've got problems, you know what I mean? You've got just get out there and get out your comfort zone and take it on. And
that is about getting out your comfort zone, yeah.
So I'd like to follow on from that and talk a little bit about your journey to boot camp, pair of you, because you both came together the first time you came. How many times you been now?
We did a week together, then we did a weekend. I've done a few sessions on my own, and then 4 days this time.
Yeah.
So and before you came, you was extremely nervous and anxious. We'll talk about that in a minute. So what were the reasons why you thought, you know what, I'm gonna go to boot camp? And
well, I'd had 3 years of I'd had my thyroid out, had some lumps grow off my thyroid, and had some tests done. I had to have that
some
removed.
shit now, yeah.
Yeah, I have.
Yeah, she doesn't do things by half, seriously.
So obviously, you know, that's a big change in your metabolism and the way you feel. And at the same time, well, pretty much a week before that, I'd snapped my calf muscle. So I'd gone from training consistently and being a PE teacher to not being able to walk and to having a thyroid out. And you know, it is an excuse, but it became a longer excuse than what it needed to be. And I put on a lot of weight in 3 years. And I was...
Was it mainly like comfort eating, or was it just you was less active, or a combination of
both, really?
Plus the hormone,
yeah,
thyroid
yeah. And
well?
I'm someone that if I don't train, I don't watch my diet. If I train, I want to watch my diet, because otherwise it becomes pointless training to me. Other than the other benefits, but that's the two things work hand in hand for me. And it got to a point where I wasn't happy. We were getting married.
That was a big target, yeah.
And, you know, looking in the mirror was really hard for me. And I didn't want to look back on wedding photos and be disgusted. And I also wanted to feel happy. And I didn't. And your weight has a big impact on that. So it was time for a change. And TEAM Bootcamp was going to be the start of that journey. And it was a journey.
It was.
It still is a journey.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And you, I mean, do you train? Do you train regularly, or?
I train regularly anyway. I mean, I go to the gym and whatnot. But, you know, one thing you learn from TEAM Bootcamp is actually, I mean, I used to be the lone wolf in the gym. You just do my running and whatnot, but not realising, you know, doing team exercises is actually makes such an improvement on exercise and getting through what you think is excruciating at the time, and you really hate this, but at the same time, it's just great having that teamwork.
It becomes tribal, doesn't it?
Well, that's it. Yeah,
You change from being pure gym to being pure classes at the gym to get that boot camp feel back. That's what changed for you.
Yeah, after boot camp, I was like, no, I get so much more out of working as a team. And that's when I started doing all the classes at the gym. And then I go into the gym and do a couple of weights and whatnot as my usual routine, but that on top, yeah.
And so then you was getting ever closer to coming to boot camp. The anxiety kind of kicked in a little bit. So like between the two of you, I mean, how did that pan out?
It didn't just pan out on the arrival too. Like we got here and I was ready to go straight away.
Well, you got into the room and I was like,
I said, I'm not staying here. I can't do it. You know, I will look around and.
What was the fear? What was it? The exercise, the people,
being out of comfort. I mean, my anxiety is bad, and I get really bad panic attacks. And I go through phases where those panic attacks don't stop, and I'd wake up having a panic attack. And I think that was the first time that I come to boot camp. I was in that phase, wasn't I? That I was waking up with them. And LeAnne was having to wake up and try and calm me out of those panic attacks, and they were happening even if I was asleep. They were that bad, I'd wake up with it. And so to be here, firstly, if I go anywhere away from home, like, I will research the room, the TripAdvisor. I will look at every single photo. I'll work out everything.
She studies, basically.
I study.
She
like,
studies
everything. Like
this is why I know when we go away, I know it's all sorted. If she's comfortable.
I know exactly which room I want.
Is it like an ADHD thing?
Yeah,
or is
it
OCD. Just OCD over it, and you know, if there's one thing wrong, that's all my mind can focus on.
Oh, we passed. So that's incredible.
You did.
Well, yeah, I know.
I mean, for me, it's just, okay, I know, I understand that. Well, it will be at least 3 days before any sort of major event like change or even going on holiday, knowing that we're aiming towards that beach, she still gets it. And I see her winding up. So I try and break down the journey into sections.
Yeah.
I don't make it known to you, but I just try and keep you occupied.
Yeah.
To try and calm her down a little bit.
You had to do that coming here. And
I did. I mean, I was like, let's just pack the case.
Yeah.
One step at a time.
Let's just go and put the stuff in the room. Let's just go. You know, we've got the first session. And
so let's just, take it a little session at a time. And I mean, I think for you, I mean, I'm just making assumptions here. I thought maybe your biggest anxiety is the people who, how they're going to be, how they're going to react mainly. But once people are, not bothered by it, then I can see you calm down quite a lot.
I mean, even this time, and I've done it a few times, and this time we stood out there and before the first session, and I said to LeAnne, I just want to go home. And it's that fear that, I'm going into a first session with new people again and I don't know their reactions. And the very first time we came here, I had all those fears, obviously, about the room, about the environment, about the staff and about the people. And suddenly I'd be 2 days into it and I find myself enjoying it, if that's the right word. It's in absolute agony. I couldn't walk.
Yeah.
But the people, you bond quickly with people here. Because you have to push each other, and you're out there, you're training hard, or you're walking, and you're chatting and getting to know people, and you become like this tight knit group quite fast, and you can build relationships. And people showed an understanding and questioning the Tourettes in a real positive way because they wanted to know more, and that was, another boost for me that I'd put myself in that, but actually. Coming here has pushed me forward in not just the weight direction, but my being on my own. This is the first time since I've met LeAnne that I've done something on my own. It's the first time I've stayed away from home on my own. And for that to be done here whilst pushing yourself in so many other ways is, it's credit to Bootcamp, isn't it?
It's a privilege to have you. It really is. So,
and there will be so many people out there that are worried about coming to boot camp on their own and pushing themselves and have the anxieties and the worries about doing it. But you don't grow from not doing something, and you don't grow from putting yourself outside your comfort zone. You can't, it's impossible. So if you want to have that personal growth, and this is a place where I would advise anyone to come and to put themselves in a very, what is at times a relaxing atmosphere, you know, sitting around a log fire in an evening after you've all accomplished 7 different training things in that day, and you eat together, and that's so nice, sitting around a table, no phones allowed, and everyone just sits and eats and talks, and you learn so much about other people, but you learn so much about yourself by putting yourself in it, that, you know, try it and put yourself in that situation where it's going to scare you. And putting yourself in situations that scare you is what helps you become that better person. Yeah. And I've been comfortable enough to experience that here, which is a massive achievement. Yeah.
So if I give anybody credit to do it on their own.
Yeah, we was talking just before we hit record, and, you know, it is.
You know, and I know I'm physically capable of doing the exercises and try and challenge myself. But to, you know, I tell everybody, you know, I give you so much credit. You're here for 12 weeks, you know, even for a week, 2 weeks, consecutively in particular. I mean, it's hard going. It's hard. But, you know, you just think of the goal at the end of it. But, you know, it's a goal that's, you just take it a little bit further. And I mean, that's one thing we took from Bootcamp the first time around is, you know, and something we learned from the mindful eating is, you got to think about what you put in your body and think about, okay, you know, it's nice they're saying, well, you know, not to not have a treat, that's fine. You know, don't stop doing something for the sake of it, but just understand you've got to owe it back to yourself.
Yeah.
I've tried every single possible diet.
I've tried it with her because I have no choice. Okay.
Group, when you order the meals and you get that, or the shakes or the juices, I've done it all.
Yeah.
Counting points and all sorts of stuff.
And I've done it, and you know, I've had some success with some, but it's not been long lasting. And the first time that we came here, we only did a week, which is, you know, in some people's terms is short, but that week was enough to teach us habits that obviously we have carried on for the last year, and it has been a life change from what we learned. And, you know, we have conversations at home. We're like, oh, yeah, but at boot camp. And those little things that we were taught in the sessions and the mindfulness and the teaching that we had on the conquer food, and just thinking about all those different things that we were taught in such a short time has changed our whole outlook on food, on training, on living, and has led to a massive life difference for me. I mean, you're a lot fitter in yourself and the way that you approach food. I mean, LeAnne had a different relationship with food.
I was the opposite.
It was unhealthy.
It was.
You wasn't eating enough.
I wasn't eating. Yeah.
No, she'd live on protein
shakes.
Yeah. And she thought that was okay.
Yeah.
And I would obviously eat too much. But we both had, in a very different way, unhealthy relationships with food. And I would say we have a healthy relationship with food. No food is off limits. We're not scared of any food, which I used to be. Certain foods you'd be scared to eat, can't eat that. But we will eat everything in smaller portions. We will train for it. If we have a treat, we'll make up for it. But it's not, we don't think that we're on a diet. I don't think of it like that.
It's, again, it's like we talked about laughing to Tourette's in the right context. And it's exactly the same with food.
Yeah.
You've just got to use it in the right context.
Yeah, that's
protein shake, after a hard day, you rushed off your feet, you can't have a meal, get yourself a protein shake.
Yeah.
You know, every day.
But living off them.
Wrong context.
I was a lazy eater. That, and I've always been a lazy eater since I was a kid. You know, my mum said I was too lazy to chew, so I'd rather drink my food. And that's something that Bootcamp really clicked out of me and taught me. You know, that is an unhealthy relationship with food in that sense. You know, I've got more energy now because I know that what I'm putting in is giving me the fuel for the next fire.
And you think about what you're eating and enjoy the food that you're eating. That's like, since Bootcamp, we sit and eat at a table, and we sit and we talk, and we are quite conscious of what we're eating and how much we're eating, which was a big thing. And that
And do you cook? Do you both cook?
I'm the cook. I love cooking.
I'm sous chef. I just work around her and clean what I can. Yeah, that's what I need to do.
But it has it's given me that back as well, that whole love for food again, and to experiment with
because
the
you
food.
understand it a bit more.
And what's going in, and even the sauces that you would buy. I prefer to try and make something and to experiment with that. Just not because I will use a sauce if I need to, if we've got less time, but I'm enjoying it, knowing exactly what's going into it and what's going into our bodies. And
so, are you guys plant-based, or you just don't eat eggs?
No. Well, it's just eggs are difficult. We're off eggs.
At the moment,
I was ill off an egg, and that has gone into both of us.
So, I mean, reason why I'm at is a bit of a loaded question because I realised you didn't. We had frittata at camp this morning. You guys didn't have it.
Yeah.
How do you get around breakfast? Because people are like, what's a healthy breakfast? What would a typical breakfast be?
A lot of the time we do a fasted cardio, at least. We really enjoy those sessions. That's something we do try and do. But we have natural yogurt, a little bit of honey, and maybe some fruit.
Yeah, I
we
don't
don't
have blueberries.
eat as much fruit as what we used to, but we do enjoy a little bit of fruit. But yogurt and honey is easy, fast, and
tasty.
Yeah,
and to be honest,
it's good, isn't it?
And the thing is, it's nice and light. You're not feeling too heavy.
And
afterwards.
that is pretty much our go-to breakfast. Yeah. It can be prepared and
so. Talk to me about some like standout moments at boot camp then, because I'm quite. It sounds like you kind of threw yourself into it. What has been your highlights and lowlights?
There's been no lowlights in any negative.
There has for me.
There has been for you.
What she's on about. There's been lowlights. For me, when I first came, we did the walks, and I'd have to be picked up after probably less than half of the walk.
I'd try and keep you motivated, but your mind frame was so stuck then, I think, compared to what you are like now.
I couldn't cope with it.
You physically couldn't cope.
If I was in a little bit of pain, my mind just focuses then. I told you, like, focusing on it's like, no, I'm done.
Yeah.
I just want to go back. I don't care. I want to go back. Whereas now, like, I can get into a mind frame of pushing myself. So it's taught me to push myself a little bit more, but I'm also more capable. So a low light for me.
I mean, you're carrying 8 stone less.
Well, I say like if I put someone weighing 8 stone on my back, I wouldn't walk. I wouldn't get anywhere.
No. It amazes me when you get the people that come and they lose like 30 stone. And you're like, how did you move? How did you get up the stairs?
How did your knees not buckle?
Yeah.
So the low lights for me was probably the first time I came now, looking back. They weren't low lights at the time, but looking back. Coming back now and doing what I used to do and seeing the difference in my capabilities, my mindset is the highlights for me.
Yeah,
definitely. And you saw it. There was some of the hill runs that we did yesterday morning. The first time, second time, and probably the third time that I came, I used to walk the bottom. I didn't do the hill sprints.
Well, you'd walk the top, didn't you? So
or walk at the top of the hill. I wouldn't even walk the hill, just walk the bottom. And yesterday morning, I was winning the hill sprints, and I was first back, and we were doing it again. And I was ready. I was there. I was pushing myself. And to me, those are now like my lowlights and my highlights, and seeing that difference.
Yeah. Well, progress has been proven to be the greatest motivating.
Yeah. Gosh,
I've been able to see that.
Yeah.
By far.
And if you do one of the longer term programs, you see that on a faster. Like for me, it's taken a year to see that difference. But if you're here for a month, 2 months, I've spoken to one of the campers that I'd met a few weeks ago, and he was saying like the difference he's feeling now to what he felt then, and pushing himself. He's already seen a difference. He's still critiquing himself, and we both said to him, "You're your own biggest critic, and that's not a bad thing. But your journey, that's how far you've come in such a short time. You've got another 7-8 weeks here. You're smashing it already. Like, and to see the change is what makes you want to do more, want to put yourself through it. And the progress that you get here is fast, and it is big. They're not small changes. They're not just changes in your body. It's here, and
I think you've got to be willing to kind of take it in and use it. Like You must have had periods where you was quite proud of each other.
She smashes it every single time.
No, but then she's like, but you're so fast.
Are you competitive together, or are you just?
I am. She's not a competitive person. It drives me crazy.
She hates the fact that now I'm winning at squash. So that's the next challenge for her. Because I've said to her, listen, I've upped my game now, so now you need to kind of either get up to that.
You'd have to get winning in squashing. Look here, one opportunity. She won one game of squash.
Surprised we didn't start with
What?
I've won the most games of squash. I don't know what she's on about.
Yeah, she's lying.
I'm so competitive.
She is.
I think that comes from my sporting background, playing football, and
you've got to have some drive. From what I've heard and you've spoke about today, you've got to have some drive, something pushing you on to get through all this shit. Yeah. You've got to have.
Yeah, it's very easy to say, all right, I'm done this time. Like, I can't push again. And you find that in you. You find it with other people around you, and you find yourself competing. Like, even if I go swimming on my own, and there's other people in the lanes, different lanes, they don't know I'm racing them, but I am.
What, the granny and the slow there?
I pick the slowest one and I race it. But that to me, right, I've got to do 2 lengths to her one, or I've got to stay near that person that's fast. And those are the things that drive you. And here you get that every single time you do it.
Every session there's something, you're right. And I mean, you are right in saying that you are your own biggest critic at the end of the day, and you are competing against yourself. And that's what I love about the Thursdays. It's all about
challenging.
Challenging yourself. But realising, okay, yes, you can do this, and just try and balance the devil on your shoulder telling you can't, and going, well, no, I am and I can. And, the trainers are so good at explaining, like, when you feel totally burnt out, you've got that 20% extra that you can really
they're good at pushing you against the other people at that point as well. Like, Reg was trying to get under my skin yesterday, pushing me against LeAnne, because he knows that I'm competitive. And the worst type of competitiveness is against your wife, isn't it? Who's beating you. Yeah. He took great pleasure in giving her the star of the day.
Oh,
a sticker yesterday. And
I've never really spoke about on the podcast about the Daily Star.
Yeah.
And the Bootcamp of the Week. I mean,
those things are, again, drivers, aren't they? You want it.
I wanted a little bit of recognition for people on a daily basis, because it's all right having the camper of the week, but there's so many wins.
Well, that's it. Everybody has their own battles every day, and the first time we came to Bootcamp, I got Star of the Day for helping somebody through.
Is that 2 then, is it?
Yeah. Look at that. She had to get that. I've had 3. I don't mean to brag, but I'm winning.
That's fine.
No, but one of the reasons you won it the first time was for there was someone that was behind and slower, and you went back and you pushed that person.
Well, I just thought, no, she's got to make this. And I was asking her questions about all the other times she's been to Bootcamp, and she said she's never finished this walk. And I've said, no, you're going to finish it today, and we're going to do it together and get through it. But I mean, equally I'm flattered I got the Star of the Day, but I think the true star was her, that she did it, and she was like, oh, but you helped me. And I said, yeah, but at the end of the day, you
still
did
her
it.
Legs that carried her.
You still did the hard work and still did it.
And that is what Bootcamp is. Like, there's always someone in the group that you've got that's going to jog back and walk with you, and there's always someone that's going to try and drive you from the side. And that is something you don't experience at a gym or in a class at a gym, because you don't get that same bond. But at a residential Bootcamp, and you get that, and that is so positive and so driving, and that's what makes it. That's what makes you want to go out to the next session and really try.
It'd be nice if each of you can think of a standout camper that you can name and talk about, and a standout member of staff that's perhaps helped you.
But there's loads. There's loads.
Well, single out now. Putting us on
to be honest,
it's like choosing your favourite kid. But
it's quite hard, because I mean, they're all different in their own way, and helped. I mean, in my mind, challenge me in a different way.
Who would be your standout camper?
Each other.
No, I'm not picking. She can pick me. Yeah, you better say me. I'm not picking her though. For me, from the first group, there would be so many, because we were like such a tight knit group. It was amazing. But
you can never have that first week again.
No, you can't.
You can't. You're going through stuff there.
Yeah, you've never done before.
Yeah.
Paula.
I was going to say Paula actually.
Paula, older lady.
Yeah.
I think she did like maybe 11 weeks or something. She was a longer term.
She was a long term.
She was long term, but you know, she was facing her own battles, being an older camper and how she was experiencing it. But I saw an inner drive in her, and the care that she showed towards other people, even though she was struggling. And she'd always check on everyone else, and she'd always push you and make sure you were all right. And she just had that like boot camp spirit, even though she was struggling. So for
we
me,
saw her
like,
as a mother hen to a certain degree.
She would definitely be a standout. She wasn't, you know, it was a young group that week, and it would be very easy to go, I'm not going to do this. She was out of her normal social circle of age group and totally out of what she's used to doing physically.
And she chose not, you know, with the Friday is your day off from boot camp, and but she
stayed
chose
on camp. She pushed herself
to maintain the diet, maintain just morale, and
there was elements when she was ready to go home, but she pushed herself, and through that pushing everyone else. So she would be a standout camper for sure. And it's interesting that she was going to be yours as well.
Yeah, I actually just my initial thought was actually Paula from the first week.
And staff.
Ooh,
oh God, we're going to get in trouble if we don't pick the right one.
Yeah.
For me, Stu, he made a massive difference to my mindset. He helped the way that I was thinking and the way of looking at approaching life, I suppose, and not just the sessions that he did, but the chats that you'd have on the walks, and then some of the mindful stuff as well. For physically pushing you, it's got to be Reg.
I said Reg.
Got to be Reg. Reg is, I think, he's been a PE teacher, and you know you can see. Obviously, I've been a PE teacher, and there's something that you've just got when you're a PE teacher. And he's got it in the way that he drives you and pushes you, and he does not let anyone slack. And he can be blooming horrible, blooming nasty, and he'll tell you, you go and tell Craig and Paula, if I'm pushing you too hard, go and moan at them. But it's the results that he's focused on, and under all of that, he wants the biggest change for you.
Yeah.
So physically, and he's just, you do look forward to it. You don't want to tell him you're looking forward to sessions. I don't want him to know that he's up there.
Reg is mine. Reg is definitely mine, because you can't
tell him though. That's the thing, because his head will just grow.
I don't mind. As long as he keeps giving me stars of the days.
That's it. God, look at that.
No, definitely him, because he allowed me to just, push me that extra.
He does push you that extra. He does make you give the extra.
And he says, if you've pushed yourself that extra and you're in that zone, you can actually push yourself even further.
He seems to recognise.
Never happy.
It's good.
He seems to recognise when you think you're done and you actually think you're physically fully done.
Yeah.
He'll know that there's another 10%, and he'll push you to give it. And afterwards, you're like, I did have a little bit extra.
and he knew it.
Yeah. You hate him for it, but he knew it. Yeah. And Reese is like the nuclear on the block, isn't he, for us anyway? But I really like he's got a different way of coming in at it, and he's really, really strong.
Yeah.
And you can see.
So it's quite hard to pick one.
Yeah.
It is.
All right, we'll go for Reg.
We're not going for Reg.
Well, listen, we've got to bring it to an end there. I literally could chat with you all day, because I think, as individuals, you're incredibly powerful women. As a pair, you're like a force to be reckoned with. That's just incredible. I love everything that you've taken on and everything that you're doing. How can people kind of follow you? How can they? What's coming up in the future? Anything you want to plug? Or
it's more Nat's regime here.
So we've been filming a program that's going to be aired on Channel 5 pretty soon. It's called Tourette's Teacher. It's pretty much followed my life at work, at home, struggles, out and about, pushing myself again in different areas, and filmed our wedding and us taking on that together. And hopefully that's a bit of an inspiration to people out there that, you know, there is a possibility of a real life and happiness and finding someone and learning to push each other and to be each other's support networks. So, yeah, I'll plug that. I don't know when it's out yet. It's in the next couple of weeks. Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, we've just had a little visitor. Paula, come and say hello. We're just wrap it up. So, say hello.
Hello.
Okay, so that's a perfect time to bring it to an end. So awesome, thanks a lot. You really are inspirational people, and I've loved chatting to you. So thanks again, and good luck in the future.
Thank you.